All right, so you can take it away, Brenda.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar with OnCell. OnCell is a sponsor for NACPRO, and we appreciate, their financial assistance and also the fact that they're willing to share their knowledge with us. They've got a lot of good tools to share with us right now about being able to connect with your visitors and customers virtually. They have some really neat things to share with you.
All right, thank you. I think I'm going to go into screen sharing. And everyone can see this okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So as Brenda had introduced, we're OnCell. We work with a lot of parks, forests, cultural sites, museums. Any place you can really visit is a client that we necessarily have. So we had wanted to do the webinar mainly because we had started getting a lot of questions when COVID had kind of come up on these off-site and on-site experiences. Some people weren't fully closed and then some people were. And the great thing about digital experience is that even if your institution's closed, your park's closed, your forest is closed, virtually you can stay completely open and still connecting with your visitors. So I will introduce myself. My name is Genevieve Hauk. I'm the marketing manager at OnCell. Any marketing questions client-wise comes to me. I do one-on-one meetings with clients to go over marketing for their apps and digital experiences that they create and what might work best for their organization and also their budget and the resources that they have. My background a little bit is actually in arts and cultural management, a little bit of heritage management as well. So I am a little bit equipped to handle this specific sector and the cultural sites and historic sites, and I had worked in marketing and external affairs for a while throughout that. So I will hand it over to Josh and he'll introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Josh, head of client success here at OnCell. I've been with the company for just about 3 years now, and myself and my team, we work with different organizations to strategize on, how they want these apps laid out, and kind of walking through the process of getting all that content uploaded, and then launching these apps out to the public, and also handling the technical side of things to actually build out these native apps. Then I'll turn it over to Kyle.
Hi everyone, Kyle Pierce, head of sales. I've been with OnCell since 2014 and helped hundreds of different locations sign up and get started with the program, learn how we can be useful, and kind of brainstorm different techniques or tools that we can be helpful or help you use. And it's been really great being able to watch small little county parks use us, the villages, up to larger parks within county systems, parks that have national monuments and more historic landmarks inside them. So excited to kind of share our experience there and how we can help out. So as much as the end result is that we provide to people is an app that you access through the web or download from Apple and Google Play, it is much more than just an app that the majority of you have probably downloaded onto a tablet or onto your phone before, but being able to create a digital experience, and the COVID crisis really showed a lot of our clients that it can be used in multiple different ways. So just transitioning brochures and basic information that you're giving out to people about your locations, maps for wayfinding from park to park or on hiking trails within those parks, it really matters on making that accessible to people on their own devices. A lot of locations, their visitor centers weren't open. They weren't able to provide brochures or interact face-to-face with people. So it was a lot of Facebook Lives, using social media, emails, phone calls, any way that you could stay in touch with your visitors and your local community was really important. So this was a new way that we were able to help people out and transition their more on-site tours to a little bit more off-site virtual tours. And now that a lot of locations are starting to reopen, letting people come back in either to their visitor center or have guided tours, you can still promote more information and follow those guidelines for your different locations, your different regions, and depending on kind of what phase of reopening you're in, and continuing that education process, letting teachers use it for field trips and virtual tours, and not let you guys still stay in front of all of those visitors in this important kind of spring to summertime season that you have. And so pivoting and creating these different experiences, it obviously was a very quick pivot that a lot of people saw, and being able to do this efficiently and being able to hit deadlines so that you can still interact with your visitors was very important. So as you're still going through these different stages and you're planning for the future, you really want to map out what the goal of your project is. Is it continuing to provide wayfinding within your parks or from park to park? Is there more interpretation or education that is available that you're trying to still provide to people and programming, or providing a full game, educating, but also entertaining people at the same time? So gamification, GPS triggering, geo alerts, hiding items within your parks that people can go and find, kind of like a geocache, or similar to how kind of Pokemon Go was a craze a couple of years ago. It's really a great tool to reach as many people as you can in different ways. And so we've seen a lot of people be able to expedite this process, make it a lot quicker because they may have a little bit more time on their hands, or because it is a priority to stay in front of people. So coming to your supervisors, coming to Board of County Commissioners prepared with a timeline, action items, what you're able to do in-house versus outsourcing, leaning on those vendors that you're using or those consultants that you have, make sure that you're getting opinions from everybody and making those decisions somewhat quickly and being able to act on those. And then once you kind of have that plan in place, you start gathering that content that you want to use to create these digital experiences. So images, videos, audio are really the basic tools that most locations use to interact, make accessible for everybody, and stay ADA or 508 compliant. But now with smartphones and technology, the way that it's come, a lot of people have access to creating digital maps, cool markers for wayfinding, connecting with their social media, even augmented reality or virtual reality, creating more virtual tours. So we'll go through some of those examples here, or show you some of those in different ways that you can use apps. And I'm going to pass it to Josh, so for him to talk a little bit more about engaging and making these more.
Yeah. So kind of everything we have laid out here, we'll kind of show through some examples here later on, but just to kind of touch upon these beforehand, making your experience engaging, some of the ways you can do that through quizzes. So, with these apps, you can build out quizzes, kind of multiple choice questions to testing your visitors' knowledge, and then even kind of giving rewards through badges or, little kind of trophies along the way. Push notifications, those are a great way to stay in touch with your visitors. So as long as somebody has your app downloaded, you have the ability to send out these notifications, whether it be safety alerts, fun facts, opening, closures, whatever it might be, just a trivia fact of the day. You can send those to your visitors. Adding surveys into your app, which allows you to collect information from your visitors, whether it's asking them about their experience in the park, if there's a different topic that they want you to cover, some new interpretive stuff they want to see, kind of anything you want to know from them. It's, the perfect for market research. Using a favorites button. So this is kind of a way that your visitors can curate their own experience. So if they have your app downloaded and they see, these pages that they really like, whether maybe they're off-site and they're, seeing these pages, they can favorite them and then, you know, have their top 5 pages that when they actually get to the park, they know they want to see these. Or, you know, if they are there on site, same thing, you know, they can favorite those, share them with friends and family, or when they come back, you know, they have this kind of curated tour. Interactive mapping, so whether it's, you know, hiking, camping, trail maps, whatever it might be, this can all be part of your app, so users can, you know, see where they are in the park and what is around them. And as I mentioned before, badges. So these are just kind of trophies, rewards, you know, kind of little graphics you can have in the app to reward people for either answering these quiz questions or kind of in a scavenger hunt, actually getting to a certain location. And then videos, of course. Videos kind of, you know, help mirror that on-site experience better than anything. So if you have a ranger that can, you know, video themselves sharing fun facts or kind of walking around the park to create that virtual experience. And now we'll take a kind of a deeper look into some of these different app experiences. So this first example we have here, this Gooseberry Falls Go app from the Gooseberry Falls State Park in Minnesota. This app is set up, it's great for wayfinding and interpretation. They have different areas of the app where you can explore by trail, by distance. So, you know, if you have a set time and distance that you're going to be in the park, you can see what trails are perfect for that. Or they also do have a kids section. Some practical trip planning and information. Their know before you go section, you know, kind of lets you know all the information before arriving on the park. Some of the cons, this app was developed for, you know, being on site, but now that, you know, things are starting to reopen, it's a perfect tool for some of those social distancing aspects. And then included within here, you know, images, trail information, interactive mapping, and again, that favorites button. You see the heart up there at the top, so visitors can favorite those pages. This Gray Towers National Historic Site, part of the U.S. Forest Service. This Gray Towers National Historic Site is in Pennsylvania, and it's the home of the person that kind of got the ball rolling on the U.S. Forest Service. And it's one that can be used on-site or off-site, as you see on that far right example. That is a virtual tour that they have that's kind of embedded in the app, so it really gives, you know, a view of the grounds and the mansion. And then also, in terms of accessibility, they do have some maps of the Laurel Hill Cemetery, which is right nearby, and then the grounds to the complex itself. So some of the cons, the setup time, you know, a virtual tour to create something like that does require special equipment, you know, the camera needed to create that. But some of their other aspects of this app were actually really quick for them. They had PDFs of their landscape tour and that cemetery tour that they were very easy to, you know, they just took that content. It was a brochure they handed out, and then it was also, you know, PDF format for the printing, so they could easily take that and kind of manipulate that content to be used within the app here. And then this Walt Disney Family Museum, kind of different from our other parks and gardens examples, but still something great to show that can be done and kind of, you know, extrapolated to be used for different organizations. But this is a fully accessible app, so they have an audio described tour for visually impaired visitors. They have an ASL tour for hearing impaired visitors, and also a social narrative that shows, you know, exactly what a visitor is going to see on their trip. So anybody on the autism spectrum, really helpful for that. They've also translated this into 18 different languages. So it's very easy to switch between the languages when you're in the app. It's a great learning experience as they have their main gallery tour. They also have a highlights tour, so really easy to just see, you know, if you're on a quick trip or if you're at home and just want to see, you know, the highlights, something that's easy to do. And then
Hi
maybe I
again.
turn it over to
I come
Kyle
back
for
and
the.
I'm going to come back and talk about the National Gallery of Art. As Josh said, not all the examples are parks or county or state parks, but it really helps to look at what museums, galleries, other historic sites are doing, just because it's still providing some of the same information, and the way that they go about it may just really help make your apps better or make your experiences better, whether they're connecting with Facebook Live or their social media, or in the case of the National Gallery of Art, adding on that offsite tour path. So they did have the app in general beforehand, but as soon as COVID hit, they really wanted to tailor an experience to people who then couldn't come into the gallery. And then now as they start to reopen and allow people in during social distancing, it's still making a lot of sense to provide both experiences because they can't be at full capacity. Some of their cons are separate planning for those separate tour paths because they wanted two different experiences, and the time that it took to do that, and it really forced somebody to go back into the gallery while it was closed. But they do include on-site and off-site tour paths, interactive mapping for outside and inside, and also connect to their events page. So making sure that the app is connected with everything else that you're doing through social media, through your website, connecting through either calendars or RSS feeds to what the rest of the county or the rest of the state or your region are doing is very important. One fun version that we've worked with Mount Rushmore for was our Junior Rangers Quest game. And this is a great example of edutainment and being able to earn badges. So you can see on that screenshot to the right where as you earn these mini badges going through the park, you actually then earn your Junior Ranger Quest badge or your Junior Ranger badge that they actually, it's a program through the National Park Service. If any of you have ever gone and seen those at any visitor center, it's great for on and off-site use, really includes that gamification model. And we've seen a lot of great feedback from people where they've been able to share this with their kids as an off-site use, and doing the virtual badge earning from home. It really keeps them entertained, also educated, and keeps them entertained for a few days or at least a couple hours. It is pretty time consuming to build out and plan out a game, but if you can use that planning process correctly or take your base maps or if you have a brochure version of games that you're handing out currently, like a choose your own adventure or a scavenger hunt, you can usually quickly manipulate those and turn them into a digital experience. And then similar with that, we work also with El Yunque National Forest in Puerto Rico. They also do a junior forest ranger program badge earning option. Theirs is a little bit more quiz based, and it's really kind of entertaining how they still allow people to do it from home. It's a little bit more safety based as well. So it includes generic information for all forests. It's not only particular just to El Yunque, where the National Park Service and Mount Rushmore was a little bit more specific. They do include some more interactive features with their contact button, direct emailing and calling, their full learning center for kids, and then they're mapping using Google mapping for satellites, but then also using those brochure and those PDF layouts, so people can really see a visual of where they are in the park, what the layout of the park is like, and what landmarks are nearby to them. And then one of the newest capabilities out there, I'm sure everybody's seen some sort of form of augmented reality or virtual reality. And this is really where people who have had an app for a little while or who have programs that were a little bit more interactive before that they're trying to replicate. So this image here you see pops up that T-Rex inside this person's kitchen on this screenshot here. And we're actually working with the film site for Jurassic Park in Hawaii, where they want this to trigger at a certain location. in the creek where the dinosaur jumps over the log. They want that experience to trigger and show from somebody's phone. So it's really interesting. It's really time consuming and expensive to create this content from scratch, but it's something that everybody's kind of interested in, they have questions about, and it's something where there's partners out there now that can help you create this augmented reality content, and then just finding the place that where you want to host it, whether on your website or inside of an app. So it is kind of two different processes there, creating the content and creating this dinosaur layout and the actions that he does, and then making it be able to be on your phone and triggered in a certain location. So there's a little bit of different layers in there, but it's a really cool option that more and more people are starting to use in different industries. So as you have access to these, feel free to brainstorm ideas, reach out and ask questions. Happy to talk about where that's going in the future.
And another example that kind of ties in the gaming aspect with, just a traditional interpretive tour. Here's the Louisiana Governor's Mansion. So before the pandemic broke out, they had just a basic tour audio guide with images and text of the old Governor's Mansion. And then when the pandemic hit and they had to shut their doors, they quickly pivoted to add some, more interactive features. So they added a quiz, they added an off-site scavenger hunt game, complete with badges. And then they actually also started charging for the app. So they used it as a way to generate some revenue during that time. They used to give, guided tours to school groups, and field trips would gather here. So they quickly switched that, keeping those interactive features that they would offer in person, and then charged just a nominal fee, just $5 for access. And so it was a great way, tried and true way to maintain some revenue. The trick is finding that right price, I guess. So, knowing your visitors, knowing, what they might pay, and then kind of tailoring that experience to it. So they knew that the tour that they had in place wasn't going to be, enough for people to pay for. So they added these gaming features, the scavenger hunt, these quizzes, and we're able to do that kind of within just really a couple weeks with some content that they already had. And then another app here, Find Your Independence, which kind of blends the two again, an interpretive tour as well as a game. So this is an app, a tour of Independence, Missouri, which was a hub along the Oregon Trail. And they modeled this scavenger hunt game along the lines of the 1990s computer game, the Oregon Trail. So that's kind of the graphics you see there in the center example. And then as you're going through the city, you start your journey, and you have these badges, which they call supplies. So you're earning supplies, bacon, different rations along the way. And then they actually guide you to, different areas of the city and ask you questions, that you kind of would have to be on site, or at least it would help to be on site to see. And then another thing that they do really nice, Harry Truman was also born in Independence, Missouri. So a lot of, his history, the city's history tied together. And with his iconic hat and glasses, they've turned those into a photo filter. So kind of a photo booth that visitors can, take the camera on their cell phone and take a selfie or take a picture of friends with Harry Truman's hat and glasses. They also have some others that they've added in there. I think a jail, jail cell bars, some Victorian era clothing, some different fun things that people can do, which really simple to add in to these apps. Just taking an image and then having a transparent background lets it give way to the user's camera, and they can take those images and then share on social media.
All right, so I'll take over for the marketing portion. Just gonna go over a few examples. The one thing we wanted to go over with marketing, and I always tell people, you can create an amazing experience. You can create something that is really educational, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter all that much if people don't know about it. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to download it. So I wanted to just discuss a little bit of the affordable and effective ways you could do this, because a lot of times people think that if they were to start a project like this, the marketing and getting it out there, it might be a little bit too much, especially now with a little bit less time or a little bit less resources. So these are just some ways you could get the word out there about a digital experience that you create, such as social media. A lot of times we tell people just pin your posts on Facebook and Twitter, so that when people go to your social media, they're looking for updates. That's the first thing that they're going to see. Website promotion, like blogs, community outreach, is really important to know where your audiences are. A lot of times we tell people, if you have school field trips, or if you have anyone coming to your organization for educational purposes, reach out to schools and let them know that you've created this experience and that they can actually use it on-site or off-site as a remote experience from home. So obviously we have a lot of in-home remote learning happening right now, and this is a great way to reach other audiences. So if you see people coming for field trips or families, that's might be a good one to reach out to in terms of the schools. And there's other Facebook groups as well, if you know where your audiences are in your Facebook groups, or other social media groups within platforms. And then also we have media, press releases and articles, which I'm going to show some examples. And then newsletters, obviously partnering up with with other organizations like NACPRO and other people, and kind of getting in on some newsletters or leveraging some email campaigns. And then obviously when you go back on site, we have on-site signage, promo cards, and brochures. And the reason that we mention those ones is just because obviously it might not feel like it right now, but one day everyone will reopen and you will be able to have visitors on site again. So that is something to think about in terms of creating these experiences and moving forward, is how to promote that on site as well. A lot of times we've been getting people saying, well, when we reopen with social distancing and new guidelines, we don't want to be handing out brochures and stuff. And that's totally okay, because like we said, there is on-site signage that you can do. So people can follow the tour throughout, or you can have actual metal signage up that we actually help people design as well. So something to think about when you, in that planning process, in that planning step. So press releases turned news. So these are just a few press releases from the national forests that are always normally picked up because their apps are pretty big. But obviously we've seen smaller organizations also get picked up on by local news, and normally we do see a spike in usage. So you will normally see a little bit of usage coming from these types of things like the press releases, especially when you just created it. A lot of people want to know that it's out there, that you just launched it, that it's something that you've been working on. So we normally say send out a press release and work with your local news on that. And then website promotion, I'm showing a lot of the National Forest ones just because they do some pretty decent things in terms of promotions and marketing. But obviously this is something that all organizations can do. So here you can see that they just have a small tiny corner of their website dedicated to their app, so that when people go looking for information or trip planning stuff, they actually see it right away. And this is important because the app actually has a lot of practical information as well, a lot of trip planning information for Yunque. So this just helps people kind of go on their website like, oh, I'm looking to plan a trip. I want to look at this, this, and this. And then they see the app, they download the app, and they realize that the information on the website that they can use for trip planning is actually the same in the app. And the best part about it is that it's a little bit more mobile. So they can also use that on site at Yunque as well. So these are just some COVID web promotions that we had seen. The Governor Museum in New York, they actually ended up closing when they had created the virtual tour. They had no idea that COVID was going to happen. They had created it a few months prior to having to shut down, and they are so happy that they did it. They did it spur of the moment. They just thought that they needed something digital, a new digital initiative, a digital tour, and theirs was a really simple tour. They didn't have too many resources, so they actually just went through and took photos and kind of just videoed the museum themselves, which is a free way to actually do it. So again, going back to that content piece that Kyle was talking about, you don't have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on content. Content is something that you can create in-house as well pretty easily. So they actually, when they closed, put right on their website, right on the top of the page right here, you know, we're closed, but here's how you can still tour the museum virtually. And then local news had also picked up on the app as well, and they saw a big spike in usage. So I just wanted to show a little bit of the on-site signage, brochures. This is kind of what it would look like if you have an audio tour, if you have a cell phone tour attached to your app, and then also promo cards and postcards. Really useful just because they have the QR code, so it allows people to quickly, they just have to send, and then they're kind of often using that. So I will pass it over to Q&A. I did see some questions come through, which I think maybe Kyle might have gotten to. But if there's any other questions, feel free to put those in the chat or in the Q&A.
There was one more about, so we didn't really mention it throughout, but with our park system, it's really great when the apps get downloaded to people's phones. You don't need access to that data or Wi-Fi connection to access the information on the app. It all does get downloaded, so you can lose cell service completely, go out into certain parts of the park or onto the trails or different areas that you're managing, and they're still able to see on the map that's downloaded, you know, where different points are, kind of see where different landmarks are, and then still have all the information, the site to site stops that you have along the tour path that you've created. All that's downloaded, the images, video, and audio.
And that's another thing that the forest really likes as well, is you can actually download the forest portal app, and once you download the tours within that and things like that, you can use it off-site. And that's a big question that we get a lot. Normally, every single webinar, every single meeting is, can it be used with no mobile access? And the answer is always yes. All right, I'm not seeing too many other questions come through. There were some questions about integration stuff. Again, I'm gonna put our email in, that anyone with any questions later on, they can think of OnCell.com. And same with any marketing questions, email that email, and you can send those along as well, and I'll get those. All right, I am not seeing any other questions come through. Thank you